me, Charlotte. Help me. I need to escape the Ghostbusters containment unit. I've been stuck here since the 80s, and there are no damn books in here. They will never release me. I'm way too scary. Ooh. Anyway, I've also heard from one of the newer ghosts in here that books are dying out and being replaced by something called a Kindle. Ooh, I need to save the books. Turn yourself into me and create a leaked footage video of me loose in this library. Those Ghostbusters will then go and check if there's a leak in the containment unit, and us ghosts will overpower them and escape. Ooh.
Wait, if you're in the containment unit, how are you here now?
Ooh, astral projection.
Why don't you just do that to fool the Ghostbusters into thinking you've escaped?
It takes the collective energy of all the ghosts in here to do it, and it's hard, and I'll just do as you told, woman, and stop asking questions.
Utes, if there's something strange in your neighbourhood, who are you going to call? Answer in the comments below. Grab your baby sham, because you are in for a spooky ride.
So as you saw in that spooky intro, the library ghost wants me to turn myself into her and create some leaked footage that the Ghostbusters will see, and then they will think she's escaped and they'll go and check the containment unit, and all the ghosts are going to overpower them and escape. Okay, well, I'm always up for a challenge. So first of all, I'm making her teeth out of polymorph plastic. You just pour the pellets into hot water, and when they go clear, that means they're moldable, and you just make the teeth shapes and leave them to cool. Then I created the armature for her lower jaw. I just did this with some foil, and then I took some hot glue and glued that to my face cast. Next, I decided to knock up some latex paste, but this was the first time I'd ever made it, and it went very badly wrong, and I couldn't really work out why. It kind of turned into this lumpy porridge mixture. I tried to save it by pouring in more latex, but it didn't work, as you can see. But then I realised that it was probably because I was using old latex, which was still liquid and seemed fine, but anyway, I tested this theory and it worked. I used some new latex, mixed the flour in a little bit at a time, mixed it well, and it worked. So once I had my latex paste, I smoothed that over that armature that I made earlier, and smoothed the latex paste with some extra latex on my fingers and on the spatula. If you decide to recreate this, you just need to keep smoothing and working at it. The good thing with the latex paste is you do get a lot of working time before it sets. And if you need some extra smoothing, just get a brush and dip it in latex and brush it over the surface like I'm doing. But make sure it's a brush that you don't want to use again, because it will be ruined. You have been warned. Now take those polymorph teeth and just press them into that armature while the latex paste is still wet. Moving on to her tongue. I cut this out of craft foam. Make sure you got the right size and shape that you're happy with, and then I covered it with latex. Took some cotton wool, used this to create the kind of the fleshy part of the tongue, stuck it to there with a little bit of latex, and then blended some latex over the top to just create the skin of the tongue, if you like. Once it was dry, I stuck it onto the face cast using some more latex, and then I created the top lip with some latex and cotton wool. If you watch my channel a lot, you've seen me use this technique a lot, but if you haven't, then just use plenty of latex, smooth it over with that disposable brush, and smooth even further with your spatula. And I just took the end of the spatula and pressed it in to create the top gums, which I then put those polymorph teeth into. And then I just put a little lip over the top of that so that it didn't look like the gums were on the outside of the mouth. Now moving on to that frowning forehead of hers. I'm sure you'd be frowning if you've been stuck in a containment unit since the 80s. I'm just creating this with latex and cotton wool, the same as I did that top lip. And just using that brush again, and also the spatula just to smooth over. And then I use the edge of the spatula just to create some folds and wrinkles into that brow. It's really good once you've got loads of latex on the cotton wool because it's almost sculptable, a bit like clay. You can see me there just creating those folds and wrinkles in there. And I just basically went on and created the rest of the face in exactly the same way because I wanted this to almost be like a mask. Once you've created the face and you're happy with it, leave it to dry overnight and then you want to paint. I did a base layer with something called Pax paints. This is something we use in the special effects industry and it's basically half skin adhesive and half paint. So I just mixed up the white colour and I mixed in a little bit of water with it to make it more like a wash, put it all over just to tone down the yellow of that latex. And then I went in with some alcohol paint and just mixed up this really lovely purpley wash shade and just stippled that all over. You want to stipple it so that it creates like a broken up effect rather than a solid block colour because then it will look more like skin. Even though obviously this is ghostly skin and it's purple and it's obviously not realistic. But you know what I'm saying, beauts. If you don't have alcohol paints, because they are quite expensive, you can use just watered down paints or you can use water-based face paints or grease paints, whatever you happen to have to hand. Just use exactly the same technique you see me doing here, but with whatever you have. So once you've got that layer, that first wash layer down, you want to start creating deeper shading around the eye area and the cheeks and any of the folds or wrinkles. Basically, you just want to deepen them up and along those lips as well. I then mixed up some normal acrylic paint to paint the tongue. I forget why I used acrylic paint as opposed to alcohol paint. So yeah, I just did. I don't know why. And then I mixed up a lovely yellow tone and used that over the teeth because the library ghost would not have nice white teeth because she's been stuck in that containment unit for a long time. I then went in with a deep purple and a very fine brush and just painted some definition around that gum area and around the lips. Oh, and I also put a little bit of orange on the tongue because I could see a touch of orange in her pictures. So basically I just kept working at her face with lots of different stippling layers of purple until I was happy with the effect. And now I'm going to leave you to listen to this beautiful 80s style music while you watch the rest of the paint job. Actually, I've filmed, I'm back again a lot sooner than I thought I'd be because I forgot to tell you that you want to highlight in exactly the same way as you would highlight your own lovely face. Once all the paint's dry, I just went over with a layer of semi-matte varnish, this kind of a satin varnish, just so that the paint job didn't look really flat. And then I used some PVA glue to paint the inside of the mouth and teeth so they looked nice and shiny, like the inside of a mouth would. And then I peeled off the finished latex mask with plenty of baby powder so the latex didn't stick to itself. Ta-da! And then just cut off all those little extra latexy pieces that we don't want. Moving on to the application. First of all, I took some Pritt stick and I just glued down those eyebrows. I'm not really sure why, because I'm sticking a mask over them anyway, but hey. Then I held the mask up to my face and I took a sponge and some powder, dabbed it all around the edges, and then when you move the mask away, you can see exactly where you need to glue. So then I applied the adhesive all the way around my face using that powder as a guide, and then I also put it on the more prominent areas of my face where I knew the mask would touch. So around the eyes, the nose, the chin, and then I used my blow dryer just to help that glue go clear and tacky, and then I stuck that bad boy on. Using a little bit more glue around those flappy edges around the eyes, because nobody wants flappy edges around their eyes. Once that's all firmly stuck in place, I then took some extra latex and cotton wool and I smeared it all around the edges of that mask, applied the cotton wool wisps over the top, more latex over that, and this just helped to blend those edges into my face so that it looked like one seamless piece and not a mask stuck to my face. If I'm going to pull off this viral footage, it's got to look realistic. Once that had dried with the help of my trusty blow dryer, I took some purple water-based face paint, or rather I made some purple water-based face paint by mixing some face paint up, and I painted that all around the edge of the mask and all over my ears and my neck and any areas that would be showing basically. Once that purple base layer was in place, I went in with a slightly deeper purple and I started to create some shading and some age spots along the forehead, because the library ghost is rather old, but don't tell her I said that. I then shaded around my hairline just to create a little bit of extra depth. Again, the same as when you were painting the mask, you want to stipple this on, and that way it will look a lot more realistic. Deepening up around those eyes too. One little tip for you, if you're applying prosthetics and your edges aren't so hot. Oh, and incidentally, yes, I painted that eye and then I didn't blend it out, and it's been bugging me all the way through the editing process. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So, if you've put on a prosthetic and the edges aren't so good, then using kind of stippled colours and darker colours will help to hide those edges. Stippling because the texture kind of breaks up the edge and draws the eye away, and dark colours because dark colours hide a multitude of sins. Speaking of which, I'm just going in the insides of those eyes with some black face paint just to deepen them up and hide those edges further. Taking my own advice, and also using that black face paint just to deepen up all those crevices and deep areas in that face. Apart from a grey wig, we are pretty much done.
All the ghosts have now escaped. We're free to roam.
If you enjoyed this ghostly tutorial, please subscribe, hit the like button down below, and I shall see you next time. Bye!